Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to explore the Undercity, because who knows what might happen to it in the next expansion. So, while it's still all pure and pristine, let's see what secrets we can experience from one of the most iconic areas of Warcraft. Number 1. The Undercity existed before the Forsaken. If you didn't know it, the Undercity was actually built by the citizens of Lordaeron many years before the Forsaken even moved in. Its purpose was threefold. It held the ancient crypts and catacombs of their royalty, it housed the city's dungeons, and also served as the city's extensive sewer system. However, while only intended for the dead and prisoners, the poorest of Lordaeron's citizens also lived within its tunnels, very typical of most medieval RPGs. Also, as a fun fact, when the Alliance captured Ogrim Doomhammer during the Second War, he was brought to Lordaeron and kept within the dungeons of the Undercity. Nevertheless, he was apparently able to escape quite easily. Number 2. The secret second floor of the Undercity. The Undercity has actually always had a second floor. If you look up from any of the quarters in the Undercity, you will be able to spot a corridor in the background, which can be flown up to. This corridor extends through the entire circular core of the Undercity. This floor was empty ever since vanilla, and has only recently had NPCs added in for the Alliance Rogue class mount questline in 7.2. You will be able to find these Undercity aristocrats at the Rogue Quarter section of the corridor, and it's a great place to do some RP. If you think about it, that's more than 12 years that this second empty floor has existed. Who knows what Blizzard had initially planned to include there? I mean, they must have built it for a reason, being all player accessible with certain architectural features like the big skull entrances and exits. Perhaps more vendors, shops, important NPCs and events? Whatever it may be, I'm glad that this platform finally got a quest tied to it, before the Undercity finally gets besieged by the Alliance. Number 3. The Undercity doesn't have a fruit vendor. That's right, as compared to every other capital city in WoW, no one in the Undercity sells fruits. The closest option to this would be banana bread sold by the general goods vendor, which doesn't really count. This used to be a slight inconvenience for hunters back in the old days, as there were certain pets which only subsisted on a strict diet of fruits. Back in the old days, when pets needed to be fed. But I think this was a really nice touch to the immersion of the game, as if you think about it, it really doesn't make much sense that such a grim, dark, rotting culture would have nice, bright, shiny, succulent fruits for sale. Although, business is business, wouldn't surprise me if a bright entrepreneurial goblin showed up and started selling fruits in the area.
Time is money, friend.
Number 4. The ambient sounds of the Lordaeron area. And finally, we come to the most epic feature of the Undercity. I placed this point last as I know that most people already know this, but it's still pretty damn cool. If you don't know it yet, there are certain parts of Lordaeron in which you can still hear the long-dead sounds of its citizens. There is the throne room, the hallway directly outside of it, and even the bell tower located just at its entrance, with the sound signifying the tragic collapse of Lordaeron due to Arthur's return as a Death Knight. Starting from the large bell on the ground, you can hear the church bells ringing upon Arthur's return from Northrend. In the hall before the throne room, you can hear the crowds cheering and still see the scattered rose petals on the stones from the celebration of Arthur's return. Lastly, in the throne room, you can see a slight trail of blood leading from the throne, from where Tyrannus's crown rolled onto the floor after Arthur murdered him. The famous iconic words of "Succeeding you, father," can be heard. And that's a wrap. 4 nifty little things about the Undercity that you may not have heard of. If you're ever up for it, I encourage you to take a trip down to this iconic location to see it in all its glory for what may be its last few months. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Azeroth.